Hi, my name is Vedran and I am from Waterloo EDC. Waterloo EDC is the first point of contact for businesses looking to locate, relocate, and expand within Waterloo region. As we continue to navigate through this COVID crisis, Waterloo EDC has really been active in advocating for local businesses and ensuring that their voices are being heard. This webinar series that we're putting together is intended to capture some of those most frequently asked questions about the government support programs that have been released to date. This webinar specifically will be around workforce and labor. On the next slide, you'll see some of the questions we will cover through this webinar. Work sharing and the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy are two of the larger programs that many businesses will be utilizing, so I'll do my best to answer the questions that you see on the screen. The concept of work sharing was created to help employers avoid layoffs when there is a temporary decrease in business activity, which is beyond the control of their business. The employers, the employees, and the government must come to an agreement on the reduction of the workload. Typically, you see a reduction of work between 10 to 65% to be eligible for this program, and the remaining work is then distributed amongst all employees in fairness. So the government of Canada has reduced the length of the application and has made it 2 pages, so it's much easier and more accessible for anyone looking to utilize that program. To give you an example here, John works full-time at an engineering firm earning $769 per week. Because of COVID-19, the firm has faced a significant reduction in workload. So the business he works for has decided to enter into a work-sharing agreement with Service Canada where all the unit members, so all the employees, will reduce their work by 35%. If John decides not to agree voluntarily to those reduced work hours, he will be laid off and will receive $423 of the $769 per week. So that's 55% of John's weekly income. If he agrees to reduce his work, he'll receive the following payments. He'll get 65% of his previous weekly income, and he'll get 55% of the lost income. So in a nutshell, that is work sharing. The work sharing program is advantageous for anyone that is not eligible for Canada's emergency wage subsidy, and this would be a great avenue to explore. Can programs be stacked? For example, can you stack the work sharing program with the CEWS, also known as Canada's emergency wage subsidy? This is a common question as businesses try to maximize the amount of programs they use. Regarding work sharing in the CEWS, no, you can't stack these two programs. Specifically for employers that are participating in the work sharing program, EI benefits that employees receive reduce the benefit that their employer is entitled to receive under the CEWS. So Service Canada will cover up to 55% of the lost income if you were to do work sharing, which is 20% less than what you would get from the wage subsidy. And with the wage subsidy, your employees are still able to work full hours as they were before the crisis. So you're getting more support from the government with that 75% wage subsidy, and you're able to keep your employees employed. So if you have the option between the two, you'd want to pick the 75% wage subsidy. Further, you can't stack the 75% wage subsidy with the 10% small business subsidy. The government has made it clear that the maximum amount of support you can receive is 75%. So if you're currently receiving the 10% subsidy and have successfully applied for the 75% subsidy, the maximum you will receive is a total of 75%. So they will just recalculate what you will be receiving. And again, if you're not eligible for the 75% wage subsidy, then obviously the 10% wage subsidy would be advantageous, and as well as the work sharing program. Those will be great alternatives to consider for your business. If I'm eligible for the 75% wage subsidy and some of my employees were laid off, how can we proceed? The intent behind the 75% wage subsidy was to prevent businesses from needing to lay off, but also to bring laid off employees back to work. So if you have laid off employees, you are able to rehire them, and once you're approved for the 75% wage subsidy, you're good to go. So here's an example. Chris and Kelly own a corporation that operates an automobile repair shop in Waterloo. They're working full-time, each drawing a salary of $1,300 a week, and have 3 part-time employees, each earning $800 a week. That makes their total payroll $5,000. Chris and Kelly have reduced their opening hours due to decreased demand for their services. They had initially laid off their employees, but they now decided to rehire them following the announcement of the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy. Their employees are not being asked to report to work during this challenging period. So with the 75% wage subsidy, Chris and Kelly are now keeping their employees on the payroll, paying them 75% of their pre-crisis salary, which is $600 per week. If you remember, they were making $800 per week pre-crisis. Chris and Kelly would be eligible for a weekly wage subsidy of $3,494, $847 for each of themselves, and then $600 for each of their employees. The owners would also be eligible for a 100% refund of their employer-paid contributions to employment insurance, EI, and the Canada Pension Plan, also known as CPP, in respect of their employees, providing an additional benefit of up to $124 per week. With this program, it's important to note that employers don't have to bring all of their employees back to work, especially if it's not safe. All that matters, the underlying goal of this program is to make sure that people are on payroll and receiving income. Revenue hasn't decreased by 15% or 30%, but my profits have decreased by 35%. Am I eligible for the 75% wage subsidy? Currently, no, you would not be eligible for the 75% wage subsidy, as the benchmark comparison is revenue-based. The key for this 75% wage subsidy is that your revenue must have been impacted. The government has reduced the initial decrease in revenue to 15% for March 2020 in comparison to your March 2019 or January and February 2020 average. The initial program, when it first came out, asked for a 30% minimum decrease. So clearly the government is being flexible, but with that being said, it looks like revenue will still be the benchmark for this program moving forward. What if, after utilizing the 75% wage subsidy, our company realizes that we weren't eligible after all? Businesses in this case will have to repay the funding that they received if they actually aren't eligible down the road. So the government's fairly strict on this, and they're not going to allow businesses to take advantage of the programs made available. Although this can be done unintentionally, businesses will be expected to prove the decrease in revenue, and if there is a discrepancy that makes them ineligible, that money would have to be returned. Penalties may include fines and even imprisonment, but with that being said, it's important that businesses keep records of their financial statements whenever they're receiving government support. So due diligence will be super important for all these support programs. So that is the end of our very first webinar on workforce and labor. Stay tuned for additional webinars on funding programs, loan programs, and how to support the fight against COVID-19. Please visit the resources page you see linked there to see our up-to-date resources list. We update this regularly, almost on a daily basis, to reflect government announcements. So please take a look and let us know if you have any questions. We're here to support the community. We're here to support Waterloo Region, and we want to make sure that your voices are heard. So if you have any issues with these government programs, feel free to reach out to us and we'll connect you to the folks that can help you out.